solutions. What do I mean by persistent solutions, recurring solutions? Is that consider a problem that people are not able to go from one end of the river to the other end of the river. We can build a bridge and be done with the problem. It's not that we need to build those bridges all along the river everywhere. That's not a persistent solution building. It's a one time solution. Whereas in analytics, it's about building solutions for repeated decisions. Okay. For example, making use of analytics to build ads which people click on more often, creating product description so that people repeatedly buy it more often, recommend products to be bought to the user every time they visit a website or they go to their cart. Every time somebody is applying for a loan, predicting whether they are going to default on their loans or not. So analytics about is building about persistent solutions, solutions which are going to be used many, many times. All right. Solutions which will need to be updated over time also, and we'll talk about that why. Okay. So just to summarize, it's another way of solving business problem from learning from the past data and building persistent solutions to automate repeated decisions, not the one-time decisions. All right. Now, the thing is that the making use of data to solve business problems is not a new technique that somehow people have realized that, okay, we can do this too in last 5 or 10 years only. Making use of data to solve business problem is not something new. The technologies, neural network, the statistics, they have been around for decades. More than half a century, they have been mainstream in academia. So what has changed now? There are a couple of things which have changed. One is, of course, availability of data. Another is affordability of or affordable and access to affordable infra and tools. But first, let's elaborate on this. What do we mean by availability of data? Data is more available now. What do we mean by that? How do you think data is more available now? Hmm. What do you say? What do you say about that? I need you to tell me. I need this session to be a two-way
But
interaction.
use of machines, social networks,
Hmm.
and mode has changed. Before there were more paperwork. Now everything gets documented, so it's easy to get data from there. Like and from website, from so many. There are so many places from where we capture data, like personal data. When we go enter our number, name, age in malls,
Hmm.
from there also the data get.
Okay.
Um, Before the
Okay.
infrastructure was not there, now it is there. So
Right.
use
So
of internet.
right. So what you're saying is there are two aspects which have changed now. One is the way we transact has changed. A lot of things are online or electronic. The buying behavior has changed. Instead of going to the shops, we go to online portals. Okay? Almost all transactions are tracked. We go to a shop. Even if we go to a shop, we make use of cards to pay, or even when you're paying cash, the transaction is getting recorded. People ask for your phone number. You already have a membership card to make use of, right? Another thing is that, so of course, buying behavior has changed. Everything is getting tracked. And the data which is being gathered is not just the transactional data. you know as you mentioned that people are making use of social media. There are so much content that we are consuming, whether it is on YouTube or Netflix or Instagram or TikTok. There are tons of places where we consume content, we like, we comment, and so on, and these are tied with our IDs. So Whether we are aware or not, whether we like it or not, there is an online personality that we are building with all these interaction, which can be tied and is being tied with our consumer behavior also. So there's a lot of data which is being generated. And generation, of course, requires data storage. And the data storage surprisingly has become cheaper. I remember I bought my first laptop back in 2005. Can anybody guess how much RAM the laptop had? Any guesses? For your reference, my phone
500,
now has 6 GB RAM. Sorry,
what is
128
it?
MB. You don't have to
Yes, yes.
lowball that much here. Okay, but you're close.
Mm,
So originally my laptop, it was, if I remember correctly, it was a ThinkPad, Lenovo, and it was very bulky, of course. And the initial RAM offered was 256 MBs, and I upgraded it to 512 MBs because I wanted to play a couple of games, Age of Empire and Dota on that, and I was able to. And at that time, that laptop's cost was around 50K. Imagine that it's been 1.5 decades, more than that. And on the same, using the same amount of money, I can now buy a laptop with 8 to 16 GB of RAM. And of course, much more storage, much more better processors. So the storage and the processing of data has become much, much more affordable. And that has also led to this revolution that things have gotten cheaper. That yes, we always knew the utility of making use of data and statistics to extract patterns from the data to make use of the data, but now it has become much easier, cheaper to do so. Another thing is affordable infra and tools, and I think you've already you've mentioned that a lot of data is being generated and it is easier to store. How about processing it? How has that become affordable? Any thoughts on that? How has processing data become affordable? Generating and storage is one thing. Any thoughts on that? Mhm. Cloud infra is cheaper as it's allowing pay as you go. Wonderful. Yes. So we don't have to buy infra anymore. Any organization doesn't have to spend a fortune on setting up data servers. They can instead make use of cloud providers like Google or Amazon, Microsoft. There are tons of players out there where you can start without buying any infrastructure, any GPU enabled machines, and you can seamlessly scale also. Today, I need one server. Tomorrow, if my business increases, my viewership increases, number of users increase, or generating data that I need to handle increases, I can simply convert it to two servers, three servers, 10 servers without much hassle. And then after that, if I had to scale down, I don't have to worry about selling out the infra that I've developed. I can simply unsubscribe from 10 and come down to 5, right? So that's a huge thing. Another major point is tools. So when I started my journey as a credit risk analyst, the tool that we used to make use of was SAS. It still is around, but the costs were prohibitively expensive. SAS licenses used to cost our company around 1 crore to 3 crore annually. It wasn't a one-time purchase either. Imagine or compare that to now when all these powerful tools, and I find them much more powerful than SAS, which used to cost 1 to 3 CRs annually. These powerful tools are available for free. R, Python, TensorFlow. One criticism that you'll find some people having is that, okay, but they don't have dedicated support. Software is not supported. But imagine this scenario: if in a corporate's backed proprietary license, say for example SAS, How many people they must be hiring for supporting? Maybe thousands of them. You have these tools which have millions strong thriving community, and people are very eager to help. There are people writing articles about the tools. There is Stack Overflow. There are other tons of online communities where people are very eager to answer your questions, to teach you, to criticize your approach, to tell you what is the right thing to do. And that is far more than what a proprietary license support can do for you. Of course, they will be on the call, but they are not going to outpace or outwit how many experts there are on these thriving communities. So that this open source revolution is also a major factor into what is driving adoption of data analytics at such a huge, such a fast pace in organization. And of course, the part that you mentioned about affordable infrastructure, the pay as you go kind. Okay. So yes, the time is all ripe. The opportunity is there. There's a lot of data. There is ease of data processing to make use of data analytics. But how do we make use of it for real? How does it, mm, how does it come to a place where we can start using it to build real business solution? Instead of simply walking you through uh, a list of steps to take, I wanted to discuss this by using a simple problem to solve, starting with a business problem statement. This business problem statement reads right in front of you is a bank recently launched a lending arm in a new region, retail loans to be specific, and the cry for help reads that they have been facing a lot of losses. Situation is so grave that they might have to close down their operation by the next quarter. Now, how do we start approaching to develop a solution for such a problem? Of course, any business problem like this one is going to be very vague at the beginning. And the first thing that we would want is some clarity as to what business problem exactly we're solving. Fine, this is a business problem statement. So we need to start asking questions to clarify. Okay, that is the first part of business planning in data analytics and machine learning specifically, because the business problems from the data perspective are going to be pretty vague to begin with. So yeah, what kind of questions would you ask if you were the one who were given this business problem? What questions will you ask? Mhm. Please go on to clarify more, to understand the business problems more. What questions will you ask? Tell me, Rucha, Nisha.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
So, sir, in my opinion, I think we first need to see the region, like which region it is. If
Okay.
if the bank is providing a helping hand, then we can think more about it.
Okay, so let's say there is this particular bank was into retail banking in metro cities only. Now they have decided to go into some tier two cities. What next? Sheikh Talat is saying that to how many and to whom did you lend the money to? Okay, okay. So here, Sheikh, assumption behind your question would be that the losses are coming from bad loans, right? Could there be another source of losses?
Yeah. So, in my opinion, first I will ask, like they are saying, they have been facing a lot of losses.
Right.
Situation is deep. So, I would like to first the very layman question: the reason for losses. Is it customer that they have less number of customer? Is it because of infrastructure they are facing loss, like they're not able
Hmm.
to capture data, or they are not able to, reach to right people? So,
Hmm.
what is the main issue? What's the base issue? The root. I will start with the root cause analysis,
Okay, okay.
and
Cool.
then subsequently
Pretty good.
ask questions. Okay, if it is customer, Then who are our targeted customer?
Mm-hmm.
I try and find out that information. Again, that is a data that I will need to how we can improve capturing more, data about our customer, about their lifestyle, about means obviously when I am lending a loan, then I need to have a customer base to they try to
Right.
understand them
Very true.
and because lending loan is one thing, taking back is another thing, right? So
Correct.
you cannot
Very
just
true.
go and give it to anyone. So
Very true.
then, and
Mm-hmm.
then we also focus something on the infrastructure part, like how easily I can reach out to people using technology. Like
Right.
these days, mobiles are there through
Mm-hmm. So
SMS,
how we are reaching out
to
to
people.
okay, right,
So in that way, Mr. The problem can be of two sides, like one customer, second infra, and
correct,
third availability. I mean, reaching how we are reaching marketing it or how we are reaching out.
right,
So
right.
some
So
root
what
cause
I
would
have
be
listed down here, so of course there are multiple aspects that we could explore. Of course, you rightly said we should also look at operational expenses, the team on the ground, what kind of techniques they're using, and maybe we can optimize there. Okay. Now, optimization of techniques, that whether you're using X software versus Y software, whether you're using one marketing channel versus another, how much money you're spending where. There are a lot of paths that we can explore. I've listed down two of these here, uh, pertaining to two aspects that you pointed out. That is, one is who are we giving loans to, and whatever business processes which entail to that or pertain to that particular point, and then how are we getting them back, getting the money back. Giving is one thing, getting back is another. So we figure out that our business problem is made up of, possibly made of two, and then some more sub business problem that we need to solve. Okay. One is, I've termed it as marketing. You can term it as marketing and operations. So one problem within that could be lack of conversions or lack of customer market segment, where maybe we are reaching out to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, and our conversions are not happening. Very few people eventually end up applying. So that could be one source of losses, where we are pouring in money to acquire customers, but we are failing to acquire them. So that's money loss. It's resulting in increasing customer acquisition cost. Okay. So therein we can come up with the ideas on how to increase conversions, how to reach out, or what kind of customers we should ideally reach out to, instead of having an umbrella campaign. Instead of say showing ads in national TV or newspaper, maybe we can come up with some more local campaigns which targets our intended customer base, where the conversion rates will be eventually higher. More so because these not subtle customized campaign can be more personal in nature, and thus reaching out to consumers in a more targeted way. Second is when we are thinking about taking that money back. So we need to figure out, okay, converting people is one, where you convince people to take out the loan. Should we give out loans to everyone? Not really. Maybe people who are not financially sound, they do need the loans, but they do not have the capability to pay them back. And this could be of coming from various reasons. Maybe the amount of money that they are borrowing now, it looks like they will be able to pay, but they come from certain backgrounds, certain kind of jobs they are into. They have certain credit obligations in the past that maybe they will be able to pay for a year, and then beyond that they are going to fail. So we need to figure out and way to filter out these people that we need to identify using the past data. We all already have data where we have been incurring losses. We can identify what kind of people default on their loan. And then we can filter out, do not approve their loans in the first place. Okay. So what we just did, and this is a very primitive and quick uh, decisions or conclusions that we have arrived at. Similarly, the way we have determined these two problems to solve, there can be many, many more, given the context of the problem, of course. There can be regulatory reasons also where we are incurring losses. Sorry, I think somebody is not on mute. Can you please?
Puja.
Okay, cool. Okay, so just to repeat what I was saying, that here in a very quick conclusion, we have come up with two business problems to solve. There can be lot many more business problems to work on. Okay, which we will identify by questioning, arriving at the clarity. Now, until now, we haven't questioned the data that we have. We have been questioning the problems that we need to solve. Next bit, we will look for the data, okay, where we will explore the data. And it becomes so the more we explore the data, more clarity we'll get about the business process, right? The data could be related to how do you decide what market medium do you use? How do you decide what customers you're reaching out to? Where did you gather the data to reach out to the customer? Where did you get the lead? How are you generating the leads? Right? You explore those that data better. You understand what your consumer base looks like. You can match it with the census and see whether we have reached out to every possible segment or not. So you explore the data, learn about the business process, and then you learn about the business process and then see whether we have been collecting data from all the processes or not. Do we need to collect data? Are we missing any opportunity to collect the data? Once you have figured that out, and this will be an ongoing process, it's not that, okay, I'm done with this step and then I will move to the next. You move to the next, and there is some team which is involved in that process as long as the project exists. Okay. So you look at summarizing data numerically, exploring data visually. I will not go into detail here. These are going to be very dedicated, elaborate modules within the course. I'm just mentioning a couple of ways to explore the data, understand the data better. The next bit will be about fine that the data is going to always have noise, right? For example, you explored the data and you figured out the average age of people that we are reaching out to is 56 or 50, 42 or 32. There will be a lot of noise here. Noise could be coming from that I haven't actually. So let's say I've reached out to 100,000 consumers, right? And you looked at the average age there comes out to be 43. Now, basing that to comment on that our entire consumer base, which can potentially reach out to, which can be in millions, is going to have age 43 is not going to be entirely accurate, right? So there will be noise, there will be variations. The next batch of 100,000 customers that you reach out to might have a different average age, right? So when we are making business plans, we do not always have these numbers at our hand. For example, when we are creating a marketing campaign, right? And you make some assumptions that average ages of people that I'm going to reach out to is going to be say 42 or 43 or 56 or 33. Some numbers you will work with, and around that you will make your campaign look like personalized for that particular age or gender or work profile or average income. Now, did we do that right? Because if we were doing that right, we will not be making these losses, isn't it? So the way we created our marketing campaign, the way we created our basic rules before we had any historical data, we must have been approving or disapproving loans on some assumptions about the business, some intuition that as an organization we have had probably in other cities. We need to verify, is that still true? Is that still applies to this new region? Okay, so therein the statistics comes in, which helps you verify with hypothesis testing and other various kind of techniques to help you sample the data and actually examine whether these assumptions which the business is operating with stand the test of reality or not. Okay. Do you understand? Everybody understand this? What I'm trying to say here? What do we mean by verifying here with the data? So you will learn about this in hypothesis testing and other accompanying techniques in the course after you've learned about exploring the data. Okay. The next thing is fine, we have explored the data, we have seen the problem areas. Then we move on to, so this also will be an ongoing process because you will be collecting data continuously, will keep on coming back to it to identify if things are changing or not. They are different from the business assumptions that we are working with or not. Okay. The next bit is predictive modeling, and this has a lot of discussion around it, right? Building classification models, building regression models, we read about them a lot. Even when we are not part of machine learning, we hear that um, there is app on the camera which can identify faces. You can search on the map and it'll tell you how long it will take to reach to a certain place, and so on. So there we hear about this a lot, and you realize that a lot of has happened before we reached here. We needed to break down the business problem into data problems so that we can pick and work on them one by one. We had to explore the data to learn about the business process more. We had to verify the business assumptions that were in play. Then we reach out to here where we start building predictive models. So although there is a lot of hype around this, a lot of discussion around this, this remains a small part of, very important part, yes, but still a small part of the entire data analytics process. Okay. So building predictive model is where, we'll take the decision on these things. If I'm considering a particular consumer, are they going to convert or not? If I'm passing on a loan to certain person, are they going to pay back? Do they have the capacity of paying back the loan or not? We will be building predictive model using this, of course, historical data. When you do not have historical data, you cannot build predictive models. This is not something like a rabbit coming out of hat. It's no magic there. We are essentially trying to extract the persistent patterns from the data. Okay. Now here we define the problems and we build solutions for different steps of the business process, be it conversion, be it making use of selective market medias, be it about approving the loan itself. And then further downstream, it can be about which loan, we will, let's say we have 100 people which we can deploy for collecting the loans, and we have dispersed hundreds and thousands of the loans. Many of them are going to default. Maybe 100 people cannot really manage all the loans. Then where should we focus on more? Which particular loans are the ones where we applied certain more resources, there is highest probability of converting them into performing loans again. Okay. So there will be a lot of problems, sub problems that you will defining in an overall business use case, which you will be building solutions for. You evaluate the model and you deploy that. But we are not done with this yet. Okay. Overall, over time, these models, these solutions are going to become non-performant. Why is that? Why can't we build a solution for, let's say, who is going to default on the loan once and be done with it for the eternity? Why will it go stale? Why will it become non-performant? Why do you think that will be the case? Tell me. Hmm. What do you think? The only persistent thing is change. Okay. So only constant is change. I understand that. Fair enough. But in the context specifically, can you guess what could change? Hmm. Customer behavior. Okay. So there are two things which can change. And just to put a formal name, nothing wrong because you did not take the formal name. You learn this in the course. Data drift and concept drift. Drift is a fancy word jargon which is used for changes which appear over time. Data drift is where inputs change due to change in universal user behavior. That more people might have started to apply for your loan online versus offline as the adoption of internet and smartphones increases. You know, inputs change due to gatekeeping by the model itself. This is something sometimes people miss. So, for example, you deploy your model and you say that, you know what, I'm not going to give loans to anybody who has, say, credit score lower than 650. So now, of course, it's not that your loan defaults will stop altogether. They are still going to be there. However, the data that you are now getting is going to have that particular range truncated at 650, right? Let's say you say that, you know what, if average income is less than 10 lakhs per annum, you are not going to give out the loans for the purpose of home renovation, right? So that particular chunk is now going to be missing from the data that you are collecting. I mean, you will not be assessing them on whether they are going to default on their loans or not because have stopped giving them loans, right? So this gatekeeping by the model will also result in changes in the data. And over time, because that noise is gone, the new patterns might emerge that you'll have to rebuild your solution for. There is also a concept drift. Concept drift is where the impact of factors change. For example, let's say 5 years back, somebody owns a car or not could be a good indicator of their financial well-being. But over the years, because now there are all these Ubers and Olas of the world, not everybody feels like having to have a personal mode of transport. They might also be in cities where there there are very readily available public transports available. So there is no need, having to have a public mode of transport. So now having a car or not is not the same indicator of financial well-being as it used to be earlier, right? Similarly, owning a smartphone a decade back, or I don't think smartphones were that prevalent. Owning a phone itself a decade back could have been an indication of how financially well-to-do a person was in the context of loans. But now everybody has a phone. In fact, everybody has a smartphone, almost everyone, right? So the concept has changed in the sense the features which had the same connotation a while back do not mean the same thing now. And again, we for this reason we need to revisit the solutions that we were building. So this could be an overall change. There can be subgroups also. For example, let's say you were treating the people who have just joined the workforce, with people with 1 or 2 years of experience as risky. Maybe in that work experience in recent times, there are changes in the sense that people are getting more higher salaries when they're joining the workforce. So here, the overall behavior effect of work experience might be still the same, but people with 1 or 2 years of experience are now getting higher salaries, and hence the amount of risk that they pose has gone down. And for that, we have to revisit our solutions. So yes, we need to revisit solutions for various reasons. So that's why it's not that, sometimes people ask me that, okay, why is there so much requirement for these data science and machine learning professionals? Isn't it that we build the model once and one model at that and be done with it? Why do I need so many people? Well, this is why. One, a business problem will be made up of tons and tons of sub business problems that people need to work on. And then that problem needs to be worked on again and again over time because things change. Okay. The second part. So, yes, we have gone from defining the business problem to exploring to validating our hypothesis to building predictive models and then to monitoring. And that cycle kind of keeps on going on. And this was a very broad overview of what we will be uh, learning to do over time in the course that you've taken. The second thing that I want to talk about, equally important, is how to learn all this. Okay. Yeah. Now, here I again have questions for you. So, and from a learner's perspective, of course, we have taken a pause and done with for now our analytics discussion. So what do you think makes a skill complex? For example, say my child learning to walk, that's one skill set, versus learning to program. So I think that walking, from my perspective, could be a simple skill to learn, whereas programming might be complex. Why do I say that? What makes a skill complex? Mhm. Before we learn about how to learn all this, let's assess what we are trying to learn. What do you think makes a skill complex? Tell me. Mhm. I would love to hear it from you. Vikas is saying something. Shaq, how about you? You can unmute yourself and tell me as well. I mean, if you find typing something to be tedious, and there is no right or wrong answers here yet. So feel free to whatever you think. Yeah,
According to me, I think depending on that time or situation, like as you mentioned, child, for him or her, the walking could be a tedious or a big task because
true,
at that point
true.
in time. So for a
Okay.
programmer, if you
Mhm.
ask that about a programming language, and you'll say that,
Mhm.
oh, it's so easy, it's just like a
Right, right. So
definitely.
if they have to
So
learn a new language, it will be much easier for them versus a
much
new
easier.
user.
Okay.
True that. Yeah.
So our knowledge, our understanding plays a vital role, I think. Based
Okay.
on that, we can take a call. Like for me, machine learning is like a big task. For you, it's
Okay.
like, yeah, it's too easy. Just
Oh no, it's not easy for me either. Let me assure you of that. But I'll tell you why in some time. And so I think what makes a skill complex is, of course, you rightly said where we are coming from, right? Second thing is scope of things also. Is, for example, machine learning itself is it's one name that we somehow imagine covers a lot of scenarios. It doesn't. It's the how broad the scope of the things can be. That within machine learning, you start with learning R or Python and data analytics, a little bit of statistics, a little bit of predictive modeling, and then you're encountered with deep learning. Within deep learning, there is working with image data, audio data, video data, and you think that, okay, fine, I'll master machine learning. Master the deep learning part. Am I done with the data analytics or ML part? Not really. There is unsupervised learning to be explored. There is you figure out that, okay, now the neural networks that I'm learning in deep learning, I could have also used them in machine learning in context of categorical embeddings and so on. Right now the terms that I'm using might feel like, okay, there's a lot of stuff and jargon. The point that I'm trying to make here is that there is so many things to learn, and they are all interconnected. So scope of things when there's such so vast and kind of never ending makes it complex. Okay, fine, we'll see how to deal with that in a moment. Second is and this is a very abstract question to ask, and I don't think even I have really a definite answer to it, but I'll ask it anyway. What is learning according to you? When do you say that, I have learned the XYZ thing? I now know machine learning. When do you say you've learned things? Never is a good answer, I guess, but still, when you have that, what, I've kind of learned this. When do you start saying that? Anyone?
Acquisition of knowledge, when we have knowledge about that.
Okay, so when do you realize that now I have knowledge about this? Is that when you have mugged up a lot of details about something?
I guess it depends on the perception of the depth. I mean, I know that topics is limited to this much. Like,
Hmm.
so if I learn up till that point, I think I know some foundations, although I
Hmm.
know there is a lot of learning to that, but that is my perception that knowing up
Okay.
till now is something foundational. So
Hmm.
I think I have learned. So I think that is more psychological thing, maybe.
Okay, so you're essentially saying the more I know how little I know, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So one thing that I wanted to ask here was, can I say mugging up is learning?
No.
No.
No, not really, right? Just learning facts by heart is not where we can say we have learned something. So, according to me, is learning is the ability to connect the dots. So, what makes a skill complex is, for example, machine learning, is that there are tons of things to learn. There is the programming tool that you would learn. There is summarization of data that you will learn. There is hypothesis testing. There is model building. There is model monitoring. There is you can go on and on and on. There are tons of things to learn, and they're all interconnected, right? And it's not that when you actually start working in industry, it's not about answering the questions. It's not that, okay, what is a performance matrix for regression? And you answered R square or mean absolute error and you are done. That's not your job, right? Your job in industry is going to be about solving business problem, wherein somebody poses you that business is making huge losses on disbursing these loans. All of the things that you've learned you'll need to connect the dots. You need to figure out that, okay, this piece of data exploration fits in here in the process. This piece of predictive modeling fits in here. My model is going stale. I need to analyze these things that I learned in the third unit of the course. So this connecting of the dots, the better you get at it, then you'll feel and then you will have learned the thing. So don't focus on just mugging up. Don't go on the search for, okay, what all things I need to learn. Can you share a list of functions with me to be used? Can you share a list of algorithms and I'll go and learn the rules of? That is one part of it. The major part will be where whatever you've learned, you will start to able to connect the dots in context of different business problems. Now, how do we do this? First is, as beginners, read everything. Expose yourself to people talking about analytics, be it about a specific algorithms, a specific use cases, demonstrating some mathematical ideas, anything. Watch, read, uh, buy books if that is your thing. And even if they're not making sense, you will be exposed to different ideas. When the right context arrives, things will start to make sense more and more. So you have to be persistent about this. Instead of assuming that everything will make sense from the very beginning, it will not. In order to connect more and more dots, you need to be exposed to more and more ideas. Just because you learned about one thing, and you shouldn't imagine yourself that I've learned it all and now I should be able to start using it. It will take a while. Make notes. So in today's days of everything being served to us, I don't have to walk down to a cinema hall to watch movies anymore. I'm not complaining. I'm happy about it. But we have grown to quick successes, quick gratification. And we want to achieve things with minimal effort. Good thing, when we aim for achieving things with minimal effort, it leads to invention. But when it comes to learning, things need to be different. You need to be making your own notes. Doesn't matter if the course is providing you with books or written notes or videos. You need to have your own idea of your journey. Write notes. And when you're making notes, don't imagine that you're going to make something perfect. Not really. You just jot down your ideas, your understanding of what you're learning. Be open to it that you will revisit when you understand or make, uh, say, you can make better notes when you have more understanding. For example, you learned about linear regression and you jot down that, you know what, R square is the measure of performance for this. Later on, you learned about non-linear modeling, etc., and you realize that, you know what, R square only made sense in context of linear model. So you come back and change that. So make notes. I cannot uh, emphasize this enough. It is important for you to write down with pen and paper in hand. Okay. Of course, I'm not asking you to make notes about R and Python. Write scripts. Then is about develop intuitive understanding. It's easier said than done. So practice, practice, and practice. Don't get into habit of just watching videos and imagining that the instructor is doing something right in front of you on the screen. Then the things will seamlessly work for you when you will do it. That you will do part needs to happen right now. Okay, you need to code along with the instructor if that is possible. If not, before the class or after the class, because you're going to have the access to videos anyway. Right? Code along, write things, fail at them, solve the problems on your own. So that is another important thing in these days. So nobody expects in industry that you have mugged it up all, that they will give you a machine which is not connected to internet and now you need to solve everything on your own by memory. You need to be able to solve newer issues that you are going to run into by all on your own. Google search, find resources. You'll identify that, you know what, if I run into a Python issue, there is a certain section on Stack Overflow where I will find the solution. If I run into a Keras issue, there is a very good documentation. I don't need to go to Stack Overflow. It is confusing in that context. I will go to Keras documentation, and that is where I'll find the solution. So you will realize and you will develop these, I would say, instincts only when you start to solve problems on your own. I'm not saying don't make use of the instructors, don't worry them, don't ask your question, ask away, always ask those questions, but also develop, focus that you need to, you cannot rely on someone else responding to your questions, answering to, resolving your issues all the time. You need to develop that instinct yourself, and the more you do that, more independent you become, more less helpless you will feel, and that will increase your interest. Okay. Now, the biggest hurdles, when you feel like giving up, this is not my cup of tea. This is not how we start, right? All of you are taking up these courses because you're motivated right now. You know that you want to learn, you know that you need to learn in cases to upskill, to do better, to change things around you. You are right now at maximum motivation that yes, I will do it. However, there are going to be hurdles in the course where you'll feel like giving up. One is where things break down. When they break down for the first time. For example, there is a certain template given to you that the data is given to you. You run these bit of codes, you'll get your numeric summaries, you'll make this plot. It will, if you follow these steps, you will be able to build a model, and this is how you deploy it. So you will see certain examples in the course, but they are going to break down. eventually. Not every template, every way of building a solution is going to fit to every data that you come along. And that is where you will learn a lot about how to adopt, how to make use of whatever you've learned to build new solutions, new templates. Okay. So whenever something breaks down, mm, tell yourself that this was supposed to happen. And this is going to be a learning opportunity. Also, another thing is where you'll find a lot of contradictions in the lessons which are being taught to you. That will happen because, to begin with, as a beginner, you would want things to be simplified. And when we are simplifying things, because I'll take the other example, when you are being told that R square is a good measure of uh, performance for regression models, it is a right thing to tell you in that moment without the added complexity to elaborate further. Later on, you will realize, or some lesson will come along and will tell you that, you know what, R square is not something which you should be making use of in all the scenarios. So there is a contradiction which will arise, and you should expect that and update your learning. Because as and when you are exposed to more and more complex things, these subtleties will become easier for you to handle. And then you can go back and take care of these contradictions and update your notes, update your understanding. But expect them. They're going to be there. The moment you realize that, you know what, I was told that A is true, now I'm being told that B is true, A is not. Don't be disheartened. Expect this to happen, and you know the reason for it to be happening. All right. Another thing is, as I told you, that motivation is the highest right now. Motivation is not something that you can cling on to in order to do better anywhere. Okay, motivation is a thing of the tales that my situation motivated me. I was very frustrated in my job, and then I took this course and I haven't looked back. These are the stories that you tell your buddies over a drink, but that's not how you become really successful. That's not how you achieve. What enables you to do great is to build a routine, something that you will always do, something that you will always persist through, despite the errors that you get, how busy you get in your job, how many things pile up, and now suddenly you face that, okay, a lot of things are not making sense to me. You need to persist through it and eventually reach to the end of the course where you work on projects in order to successfully complete this. Another thing which I have not mentioned here is we have this, especially not when we are children, when we become adults, and we have this persistent nagging feeling of asking, okay, so where am I going to use it? Right? Imagine my daughter is in second grade now. She, for last 2 years, she has been learning about numbers and adding. Imagine if she asked me, but why am I learning all this, Dad? And I tell her that, well, with math, you learn problem solving skills. And then her asking me that, then why am I being taught these numbers? Why am I not being taught problem solving skills yet? It will happen eventually. So you need to think that there are a lot of components of the course that you'll be learning in isolation. And from a very beginning, it's not going to be apparent where eventually you will make use of them. Okay? Don't look for that. That's my suggestion. Learn about things in isolation without worrying about eventually how all the dots are going to connect. Have some faith in the instructors and whoever has made the material for you, that they have seen it all. They have a broad overview, and the things that they're trying to teach you are important in their own accord. And learn that and wait for things to eventually connect the dots. Do not, from the very beginning, worry that, okay, I am learning about writing a for loop. How will it enable me to solve a problem of identifying faces? It will eventually, but you have to learn that small step also. Just like we learn to uh, add the numbers for years and years before we eventually arrive at a situation where we are able to utilize that to solve real business problems. Okay. That's all from my end. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, I'm here. And yeah, over to you.
Hi, Rucha and Talat, you were writing something. So any questions, please ask.
And my expectation, the takeaway that you will have from this session is that whenever you're learning something, now that you get started with the course, you have this holistic view of where. So keep on learning and making a connection that okay, whatever I'm learning, where it will fit. Be aware of the hurdles that you will face when you're learning these things, and don't be disheartened by those. Okay, so yeah, I'm waiting for if you have any questions. And if not, we can call it a day. Thank you so much, Bharat, Pooja, for giving me an opportunity to share all this. And thank you everyone for your patience to, hearing me rant about this for more than an hour now.
Thank you, Lalit, and thanks to all the learners. Have a nice day ahead to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalit.
Thank you, Lalit. Thank you, Pooja.
Sure.
Thank you, Pooja.
Okay.
Thank you, Pooja.
Okay, I'll leave the session now. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, Lalit.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. Guys, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the student support team for anything regarding the course and all. And soon Pooja will share out the academic calendar, which is starting from next week. So please stay tuned to the emails and the WhatsApp messages from her. And yeah, looking forward to the classes. And again, congratulations for enrolling for the course and all the best.
Thank you, Bharat.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you,
Bharat.
Bharat.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.